My team, all right, the New York Jets, we're sitting here. We've invested a lot of capital into the offensive line during the offseason. We signed the likes of Greg Van Roten. We signed George Fant to too much money, but that's besides the point. We signed Connor McGovern, who I think was a fantastic sign. Re-signed Alex Lewis. We still have Chuma Edoga. We still have Brian Winters. We've established a lot of depth on this offensive line, but I still don't think there is a guy you can look to and say, hey, this dude is a stud. I don't think there's that guy on this offensive line, which is why I lean towards taking Andrew Thomas, the offensive tackle out of Georgia.
Right.
I look at Thomas. Thomas, to me, goes over Mekhi Becton for one reason alone. His floor is so significantly higher than the floor of Becton. You can argue Becton's ceiling is a little bit higher than Thomas, but when you look at a guy that has done it for 4 years in the SEC, he has been to a national championship. They didn't win, I understand, but he has played a national championship game. He has been on a successful Georgia team.
Yep.
He has protected the likes of Jake Fromm. He has run block for the likes of Nick Chubb and Sony Michel and DeAndre Swift. And he is just such a refined technician, you know, with what he does. He may not be the most powerful. He may not be the most athletic. But I think in terms of just being technically sound in what you're doing, I love Andrew Thomas for the Jets. You slot him in on the left side. He may not make an all-pro team. And you know what? That's okay. He may not make a Pro Bowl, but he's going to start at tackle, whether it's right tackle, left tackle. He can also play guard. He's going to start on their offensive line, barring injury, for a decade. And I have no question when I say that. And I think for Sam Darnold, that is probably the most valuable thing to him. Sure, you can go CeeDee Lamb. Sure, you can go Jerry Jeudy. We hear all the time about how much the Jets loved Henry Ruggs coming up into the draft. Andrew Thomas is a more impactful player for the Jets playing left tackle than I think Henry Ruggs is playing receiver for the Jets.
Agreed.
Curious on your
doubt
thought.
about it. There's no doubt. I mean, if you look at Andrew Thomas, to be honest with you, I mean, he has the ability to be DeBrickashaw Ferguson.
Why not?
Right? I mean, so would Jet fans complain about DeBrickashaw Ferguson again? I don't think so. You know, Le'Veon Bell still needs a line. Sam Darnold still needs a line. You talk about Sam Darnold needing weapons. This is a weapon for him.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to be protected. Kelvin Beachum did a pretty decent job last year, but again, he's an older guy. You have Andrew Thomas for the next 10, 12 years. Lock it in, left tackle. I'm telling you, that's a great pick. Really, I think he's the safest tackle, honestly, behind behind Jedrick Wills. Yep.
Yeah. And I agree 100%. If I'm ranking the tackles in the draft, I'm taking Jedrick Wills first. And if I'm a GM that needs a tackle, I'm sorry, Tristan Wirfs, but I'm taking Andrew Thomas second, just because when it comes to offensive line, it's nice to have a superstar stud like a Tyron Smith or a Zach Martin from the Cowboys line.
Sure.
But when you're a GM and, you know, being an offensive line coach yourself, you know, you don't necessarily need the superstar, but you need 5 dudes. You know, you need 5 dudes that can roll out there, you know, together and collectively and play football together. And I have no doubt Andrew Thomas is one of those 5 dudes on whatever offensive line you want to put him on. Cowboys included, Eagles included. He's one of the 5. And I think it's a great pick for the Jets.
Yep, agreed. Do you want to make this Raiders pick?
Yeah, I'll take the Raiders pick. I mean, these are my 2 squads. Raiders at 12, not the same problems on the offensive line as the Jets. And so they get the fortunate opportunity to take the first wide receiver off the board here. I have them taking Jerry Jeudy out of Alabama. I don't necessarily think that Jeudy is the best receiver in the draft. I tend to lean more towards CeeDee Lamb. But I think Mayock and Gruden are going to look for a guy a little bit more refined in his route running, which Jerry Jeudy is. I think you saw it last year with their draft strategy, taking guys from Clemson, taking guys from Bama. They're looking for winning programs that have seen what championship football is like, which is why Judy goes here. No disrespect to Oklahoma and CeeDee Lamb. They've had a couple of playoff appearances, but I'm not the biggest fan of Big 12 football.
Yeah.
You talk about SEC football, Jerry Judy. He's a lightning quick route runner. He's good after the catch. He is faster than CeeDee Lamb according to his combine numbers. I think in terms of a target for Derek Carr or whoever is their quarterback moving forward, you pair him with a solid run game behind Josh Jacobs and a decent offensive line, Darren Waller at tight end. I think Judy is that yards after the catch guy. That super, super effective route runner that you can build around, and that's why I like the pick for them.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, you talk about, you can argue wide receiver with Alabama. When you talk about big time receivers,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, Julio, Amari Cooper, Ridley,
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Judy is that, Henry Ruggs, even
Henry
if you want,
Ruggs.
good receiver. They have Devonta Smith who's coming back there next year. So
Yeah,
they're always loaded.
Waddle. Yeah.
Yeah, Waddle, exactly. So I mean, Jerry Judy is a guy who I compare to Odell Beckham
Mm-hmm.
in terms of great catches. He has some drops every once in a while though. That he can have some, like, dude, really, like, you could catch anything, but you can't
Yeah.
catch that. It's a little mind-boggling, but great feet. I mean, just stops on a dime, quickness, great route runner. This is definitely a Raider pick, no doubt about it.
No question. All right. You want to take 13?
No, go ahead. We'll stick with the three in a row for you.
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. I will take with the 49ers. 49ers, let's just get this out of the way. What a phenomenal job John Lynch did in the offseason getting this 13th overall pick.
No doubt.
You get Arik Armstead re-signed on your program coming off a career season.
Yep.
He leads the team in sacks. You have DeForest Buckner who needs to get paid,
Yep.
but you're not going to lock up over 25 million of your cap space into defensive tackle. You can't do it. So what do? Let's go trade for the 13th overall pick in the draft because the Colts are desperate for an impactful player on the D line. They give you the 13th overall pick. You don't have to pay DeForest Buckner. And guess what, Kyle Shanahan? Remember when you had Julio Jones in Atlanta and how much fun you guys were to watch? Now you get a guy like that in CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
Okay?
Hell yeah.
They're going to draft CeeDee Lamb here at 13, and I can't be more excited for them. And to be honest, you could argue that Jerry Judy or Henry Ruggs would fit in just as well, especially Henry Ruggs because of his yards after the catch. But CeeDee Lamb is my number one guy on the board. He is 6'3". He is just shy of 200 pounds. He catches everything, and I mean everything. He is phenomenal in yards after the catch. He has played with 3 separate quarterbacks in his career over at Oklahoma and has been a freaking stud every single year after. Okay. You talk about, it's Baker Mayfield, it's Kyler Murray, 2 number 1 overall picks, and then Jalen Hurts, who's going to get drafted this year.
Right.
But what is the consistent factor? They all got to throw the ball to CeeDee Lamb, and he doesn't drop anything, and he's fantastic after the catch. Okay? He's a fantastic player. I love the fit here for the 49ers. You talk about setting him up on play action shots after they run stretch for the 15,000th time. It's like we're playing a game of Madden.
Yep.
We run stretch again. Raheem Mostert or whoever their running back is next year gets X number of yards, and then boom, it's 2nd and 1, and we set it up over the top for CeeDee Lamb. I love the pick, and I think the Niners do a great job because they still have 31, and they can do something there too.
Yeah, I mean, the rich get richer. I mean,
Absolutely.
what a home run! I mean, John Lynch has done a bang up job down there, out there, I should say, in California. And honestly, CeeDee Lamb. I mean, like, it's almost like not fair. Like,
No.
This is crazy to see CeeDee Lamb there. So yeah, I mean, you touched on all the points. I think it's a hell of a pick, and they could have arguably gotten the best receiver in the draft. So, so I think that's a great get for them. 14, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Again, I have them taking an offensive tackle, a guy who's going to slide a little bit. Mekhi Becton. I still think even with the news that came out yesterday about the failed drug test, that he is going to – that's probably about the area he's going to go. I wouldn't surprise me if he went a little bit lower than this, but at the same time, wouldn't surprise me if he went higher. Some teams don't care about this type of stuff,
No, not at all.
like the Raiders. But Tampa Bay needs a guy who's going to protect Tom Brady. Mekhi Becton is the pick. He's a guy who reminds me a lot of Oakland Raiders tackle Trent Brown,
Absolutely.
who the 49ers had. Big guy. I think is he 6'8", 6'7"?
He's like 6'7", 6'8". He's at
6'7",
least
three
370.
quarters. Yeah, 370. I mean, this man ran a 5'1" 40. Okay,
Crazy.
that's point like 2 seconds slower than Tristan Wirfs and Jedrick Wills. Like that's insane. For another 40 pounds heavier, a
Crazy.
couple inches taller, it's crazy. Couple things. One thing that's a little concerning for me was I know he has long arms. 23 on the bench, long arms. You can say that plays a role. And I don't really care so much sometimes about that because you talk about play strength.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy who he's raw. You watch his pass sets; they're okay. Sometimes I think with his hand placement, his punch, he could get a little bit overzealous, almost like that Eric Flowers. He'll lean a little bit
Yes.
with his like hips and his upper body.
Yep.
That does concern me, but he's a mauler in the run game. He moves fantastic for his size. I think what's going to be key for him is putting him with a really good offensive line coach.
Yes.
That's really what he needs. And again, he's gonna play next to like an Ali Marpet, who's a vet. Unless they keep, they're not gonna keep him at center because they have Jensen. So he's go back to guard. I think if you put him next to Marpet, a good offensive line coach, he'll be okay with Tom Brady. Tom Brady gets the ball out pretty quick. So
He does.
So even though the system is a longer system as far as passing concepts, we'll see if they tailor some stuff to Tom. But I think Becton's going to be okay, and I think the value here is too good.
Yeah. I think your analysis is spot on. One thing that's really concerning to me about Becton is when you look at his Pro Football Focus stuff, which not everybody is a huge fan of, but I do pay attention to it.
Sure.
The way they documented it, they said he only took around 70 true pass protection reps
Yeah.
throughout his career at Louisville, or in his last year at Louisville specifically, which to me is very alarming. Not because he can't do it, but just because he hasn't done it.
Yep.
You're talking about Tom Brady and you're talking about a Bruce Arians scheme where he's going to have to learn how to do a legitimate pass rep and a pass set. Not everything is going to be built off of a play action, off of a zone or an RPO or a bootleg where you're just down blocking on the 3-tech and hoping that, whoever leaks out can take care of the end. You have to be able to kick set against the likes of a Cam Jordan, against Brian Burns, and, against Dante Fowler Jr. now in the NFC South.
Yep.
And I think it's important that when you take a guy like Mekhi Becton, you give him time to develop and you get him in the classroom as soon as you can.
Right.
Because I'm not worried about the functional strength. You raise concerns about the long arms and the lack of bench press at the combine.
Yep.
I've seen him absolutely maul guys in the run game. I'm not concerned.
No doubt.
But the pass rep thing, I think, is so important to get hamped out right away because you got a 40-something-year-old quarterback behind there that just signed with you guys, and you don't want him pissed off with you in the first year.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with you. And I think you point out, you see him in the run game. I saw a Clemson tape where he's like literally just tossing a guy on the sidelines. So in that sense of play strength, I still think he has room to get stronger. I think part of it is his size, just natural size.
Yes.
I think if he could get some actual like grown man weight room strength to him, that's scary. I mean, we're talking about, again, another Trent Williams, Jason Peters type of attitude on the Trent Brown body.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. So
that is really good.
So.
All right. 15, Broncos, who have been looking to trade up, and I think they're looking to trade up for the specific player that I actually have falling to them at 15. It's Henry Ruggs from Alabama. I think Denver's looking to move into that 11 to 10 range, Jets or Cleveland, to try and make sure they lock this guy down. You look at Cortland Sutton, and he's that 6'3". He's that 210-pound plus jump ball, contested catch guy over the middle. and then you get a guy like Henry Ruggs for Drew Lock that can just absolutely take the top off of a defense. I think it's
Right.
a really nice compliment. I think it complements Sutton, and I think it complements Lock just as well.
Hmm.
One guy that I was listening to, and I can't cite the source, I forget who said it, but one guy said the Broncos are in love with Henry Ruggs because they play in Denver. And what they said
Mm.
was you can take a defensive secondary out of the game at home within the first 2 or 3 drives of a game, because when Henry Ruggs steps on the field running a 4.240 and the wind is thin and
Yeah.
you can't breathe, and
Yeah.
this guy is just boom, 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 he's just running by everybody.
Oh,
All of a sudden, this defensive secondary that your opponent has is just sucking the oxygen tank, and
true.
they're like, "Oh my God, what am we gonna do?" And I think for Drew Lock, he's going into his second year. I'm not sold on the kid personally. I know a lot of people are excited about him in Denver,
Yeah.
which is great. Have hope in your young quarterback. I think he has potential to be good, but I don't think he's a superstar just yet, and I don't think anyone else thinks that
Right.
either. But he has the arm strength to use a guy like Henry Ruggs to his advantage. And if you can get a guy like a Tyreek Hill, who everybody loves to comp Henry Ruggs to,
Yeah.
and you pair him up with a big body target like Sutton, and you have Noah Fant, who you drafted last year, as that move tight end. I really think they can have a very decent receiving core here in Denver to build around a guy like Drew Lock. You have the run game set up with a guy like Melvin Gordon.
Yep.
Royce Freeman kind of looks to be on his way out, but you also have Philip Lindsay. I think the weapons around Lock are going to be ideal for him to put together a really
Yeah.
good sophomore campaign. And I'm curious what you think about this pick of Ruggs.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ruggs really does fit the Pat Shermer offense. Pat Shermer is going to take shots down the field. I mean, I've seen it with the Giants over the years. Gives you that Odell Beckham speed element. They kind of tried it with Golden Tate even this year, running screens and all that yards after the catch. I think that's what he'll definitely give you, Henry Ruggs. And to that point about the altitude, man, that's a great point. I never
Yeah,
really thought
right?
of it. And I think that Henry Ruggs is a guy that I think has the biggest ceiling in this draft as far as the prospects
Mm,
when it comes to wide receivers, just because he has so much room to grow. People will knock him and say, "Oh, he's just really a speed guy," or "Is he really?" So I think Henry Ruggs is going to show a lot of people that he is more than just a speed guy.
yeah,
That he could catch the football. And he's been make a hell of a combination with Cortland Sutton. So I agree. Drew Lock gets another weapon here.
yeah. 16 for you. It's the Browns. They traded back with the Falcons, and now they're on the clock.
Yeah. So, we had them, probably thinking offensive tackle here. Could they with like a Josh Jones? Maybe. Maybe Ezra Cleveland. There's been a rumor actually. I know. And there's been a rumor that they're actually interested in Ezra Cleveland if they were to trade back. I don't like that. I don't see it. They lost Demarius Randall into free agency. He was a safety there. I think that they need another playmaker on the defense to put back there with Denzel. I had them taking Xavier McKinney, the safety out of Alabama, a guy who could really do it all. He's never really going to leave the field for you.
No.
Kind of out of that Alabama Minka Fitzpatrick mold.
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
he's not going to be your single high traditional ball hawking safety, but he's got a nose for the football, really good tackler, very stingy as in pass defense, all around safety, a really good pick for that Browns defense, who I think that they would really need to, just help out there. So
That's Schefter calling?
it was Schefter, my sources. So
Yes.
yes,
So real quick, my thoughts on McKinney. I mean, we've spent a lot of time here going over the first 15.
we have. I
Um,
didn't realize that.
with McKinney, I do like the pick a lot. I think, you lose Demarius Randall, which was a blow
Yep.
for the Browns last year. They didn't really have much of a strong safety last year either after they traded Jabril Peppers away for Odell Beckham Jr. What a great trade for them.
Yes.
anyway. You now look at Xavier McKinney. He's a jack of all trades. He can play in the box. He can play up top as a single high safety. He can play in a cover two shell. He can even play a slot corner if you need him to. Very similar to that Minkah Fitzpatrick role that you alluded to
Right.
earlier. Like the pick for them. It's safe. The 40 time has a couple of people concerned. You know, he ran 4.6. He didn't run 4.9.
Right.
Like let's not overblow this too much. He's an active player. He's a playmaker. Lock
Right.
it at
Exactly.
16. I'm sure
Correct.
the Cowboys would love to take him at 17 if he's available. He's not.
Right.
Because of that, I'm going to have them take Jeff Gladney, cornerback, Texas Christian University, TCU. He stays close to the college roots, and he's heading over to Dallas. They lose Byron Jones in the offseason. It's a big blow. Dallas, if there's one thing that I've continued to be wrong about over the year that I just continue to be wrong about, Jerry Jones knows how to draft one hell of a team.
Yeah, he does.
He doesn't know how to retain that talent, though.
Yeah, he does.
Okay. You lose Byron Jones, which is unfortunate. You give Zeke Elliott a huge contract last year. Now you're stuck in franchise tag limbo with Dak Prescott. He don't agree on the price that he's asking for. Then you give Amari Cooper $100 million to come sign. As a guy that supports this team over here, the Raiders, Amari Cooper ain't worth no $100 million. Thanks for your first round pick, Dallas. Appreciate it.
Yep.
For me, Gladney is good. He's not great. He's not going to be a Pro Bowler. I think Byron Jones is a significantly better player than Gladney is. But you need to fill the spot. I think they would have liked to go McKinney here if he was available, but he's not available, and that's okay. Gladney is going to at least being a starting caliber player for you year one. And if worse comes to worse, he's going to absolutely be a slot because he's shown the ability to blitz off the edge. He's shown the ability to be twitchy in space. He's not the worst tackler in the world either. I think Gladney can be, an immediate impact player, but not necessarily a stud corner like Byron Jones was.
Yep, I agree. I don't want to harp too much on it. I hate the Cowboys, so no. But we'll move to the first round. But I think Gladney's a great pick. Like you said, I think McKinney would have been the pick. They need a corner. Gladney's the best available option.
Yep.
At that point, no brainer for them. The Miami Dolphins, their next first round pick. I have them taking LSU edge defender Kalevion Chason.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really explosive, really good bend. He's the dude's explosive. I mean, he's got a great first step, pretty good, decent two-way defender. The only issue with him in college was the production really wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense of like overall production. I think that, he had an ACL tear. In his 2018 campaign for LSU. And I think Chason is just one of those guys who the Dolphins at this point in the draft, they need an edge rusher. They need a guy who go opposite Kyle Van Noy, get after the passer. Brian Flores is going to throw some exotic blitzes out there. They're going to run multiple fronts. Worst case scenario, Chason's a situational pass rusher in his first year.
Yeah.
I think he plays right away. I think it's a good fit for the Dolphins here at this point as well.
I love this pick for the Dolphins. I think Chason, the production is certainly concerning, and I have no doubts that is something that I'm thinking about if I'm a GM going to draft this kid. But the other thing that gets me super excited is that the production came against the best teams in the league.
Yeah.
When he played in the playoffs against Oklahoma and then Clemson, I could not take my eyes off of number 18 on the field. Like he was just all over the place.
Yeah.
I think he's perfect for what Flores is looking for. I think a lot of scouts have kind of penciled this guy into that 4-3 outside or that 3-4 outside linebacker role, that stand-up edge rusher, which is fair. He could be very successful there. But I do think he has the twitchiness and the athleticism to be able to drop into some pass coverage if you did
Right.
want to play him in a stand-up outside linebacker role in a 4-3, he reminds me a lot of Bruce Irvin coming out of West Virginia, who was an explosive edge rusher, but Seattle drafted him and made him a 4-3 outside linebacker that would kick down on third down and rush the passer. I think that's the exact type of guy you're going to get. And it's someone, you can also argue maybe kind of like a Dante Hightower in New England, who started
Yep.
his career out on the inside, but then eventually made his way outside as a stand-up outside linebacker.
Yep.
Similar guy. I like that pick.
Yep. Agreed. Who do we have? We have the Raiders again. You get the
Yeah,
Raiders again.
my boys are up again. The Raiders, because we love winning football players, not necessarily the
Right.
best ones, but the ones that win. We're going to take Christian Fulton here, the corner out of LSU. I make fun of Mayock here, but I actually do think this is a really good pick for the Raiders. They lost Conley last year in the trade to the Texans. Um, the cornerback situation there has kind of been a revolving door the last couple of years. I think Fulton is a good pick for them. Fulton reminds me a lot, and it's a lazy comp, but when you talk about a guy that may not necessarily be like the most blazing athlete, but he's just always there and he's productive, I think of Tre'Davious White. Like when
Mm-hmm.
I think of Christian Fulton,
Sure.
coming from the same scheme, it's easy to say that, but he's a guy, he's standing there 6 foot tall. He's not, Sherman at 6'3", but he's
Right.
athletic enough to be a smaller corner that keeps up with slot guys. I don't think you can really go wrong with this pick here. At worst, he becomes your number 2 corner in
Right.
in Las Vegas. I think I've said Oakland this entire draft, and
It's okay.
if I have, please correct me. But
They'll still always be the Oakland Raiders.
there'll always be. But except when they were Los Angeles,
Right.
and
Of
then became
course.
Oakland, and now we're in
Yeah.
Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I think Fulton's a good pick here. It's safe. You get yourself Jerry Jeudy at 12. Now you get Fulton at 19. And I really think the Raiders, after the free agency period they had, I call it fan bias. I think they're really going to put something together here. I'm not talking playoffs this year at all, but I do think you're going to start seeing the improvement that this team needed to make when they changed coaches and changed GMs. I really like the direction that these 2 picks are going to take the Raiders.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I really do. I think Christian Fulton is a really good, solid cornerback. That's
Mhm.
what I'll say about him. I think he's a really good 1B type of guy.
Yeah,
He's going to be like a Robin. He needs a Batman, I would
yeah,
say. He could go against your number 1. Similar to like a James Bradbury in the sense of
yeah.
he's not going to be, like you said, Darrelle Revis or, Richard Sherman, but he's not going to be a bad, second tier corner, not going to be a shutdown guy, but I think he's going to be solid. And I think that that's exactly what Vegas needs.
Yeah.
Man corner press and just get after you. Like I said, and you made a good point about Mayock liking those big school winners. So
And just one point to leave off here, and we'll move on to 20. We talked about pedigree with Ohio State. I don't think there's a more productive pedigree in terms of defensive backs than LSU.
yeah,
So Fulton kind of just falls right in there. And then 2 years from now, Derek Stingley, his freshman counterpart. Oh my God, is
yeesh,
that
yeah, that
guy
kid.
a psychotic freak of a defensive back?
Yeah.
He's going to be a top 5 pick in 2 years. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, that kid is real good. All right, number 20, Jacksonville back on the clock again. Man, all about improving defense. They did it
Mhm.
in the free agency a little bit. Traded away Calais Campbell, so let's go back and attack the interior with Javon Kinlaw.
What a steal!
Great pick, I
What a
think.
steal here.
Can play the 3 tech, play the 5 tech, violent, aggressive, hell of a Senior Bowl. He was there for a day and then left. Okay, the guy, he showed up for a practice and then
Thanks,
said,
guys.
"Thanks for coming. I'll see you later." Really, the South Carolina team, they kind of get like shit on in the SEC. They're not
Mm,
that good. And again, he's playing in the SEC. He's not playing in the Big East. He's not like an independent school. He's not playing in the American
right.
Conference. SEC defensive tackle, dominant. I like him. Quick twitch, big dude, 6'5". You know, I think it's a really good fit for Jacksonville. They need that. Again, I think that they value that. They just never really struck on it. The Marcel Darius's, the Malik Jacksons of the world, they missed on it, and they get a guy on a cap, rookie deal. He's not going to be the Calais Campbell. Have him for 4 or 5 years. It's a good gap.
Yeah. I can't add anything than what you've given. I think Kimmel is the best player to come out of Carolina, or South Carolina specifically, since Clowney. I really love the fit here. Yeah, perfect pick.